Hi, I'm here with my daughter Grace, and we're going to make a Skillet chocolate chip cookie. The story behind this is that it's my son, her brother's birthday, and he's chosen a chocolate chip cookie cake for his birthday. And we know that being low carb, it's something that we can enjoy. So we're going to make a delicious one that we can enjoy to make everybody else jealous, and we'll share. So this is a recipe that Grace and I really put together after making several different chocolate chip recipes. And so we just kind of cobbled together the recipe and based on what we think works. So we're going to start with almond flour, and we have a full cup of almond flour. We're making a really big batch because we have people over and they tend to like our dessert as well as the other dessert. And this is oat fiber. Now, oat fiber is something I use a lot. It's very absorbent. Usually you can substitute coconut flour instead, and you can do that in this recipe too. And we have a half cup of oat fiber, right, Grace?
Yep.
Okay. Oat fiber is kind of thirsty, and it gives it that wonderful wheat texture. So we put an almond flour, a full cup of that, a half cup of oat fiber. And what is this?
This is half a cup of unsweetened coconut flour.
So this is one half cup.
Unsweetened coconut.
Right, and that is a difference.
Not
it's
flour.
1/2 cup of coconut, unsweetened coconut, shredded, finely shredded coconut, not coconut flour. And that gives us a really nice texture. We wanted to put the oat fiber and the almond flour so it doesn't have a coconut taste, but yet we wanted the characteristic of the texture that the unsweetened coconut gives it. All right, we're gonna add, this is kind of assorted stuff. We have baking powder and baking soda. We have a full teaspoon of baking powder. We have a half teaspoon of baking soda. We couldn't decide which we wanted to use, so we decided we'd throw in both. And then salt, we have a full teaspoon of salt. And then this brown is unflavored gelatin. And I've said before, I really like using the gelatin in baked goods because it kind of makes it hold together.
The consistency.
That's right, the consistency. I was gonna say texture, but you're right, Grace, it's consistency. And so I put that all in one container, and we're gonna put that together. So we're gonna give a whirl to the dry ingredients. The other part of dry ingredients that we have, I didn't want to get out. The other part of dry ingredients we have is some sweetener. Now, I like to use pure sucralose powder. And then what I've done is I've mixed to have a synergistic effect. So I have a little bit of the pure sucralose powder. I have a little swerve, a little erythritol. What I'm going to suggest is that you use a full cup of whatever your preferred sweetener is. So just use 1 cup of your preferred sweetener, whether that's swerve, which is erythritol, or xylitol, or the equivalent in stevia. Just use an equivalent 1 cup. Let's give that a little bit of a stir around. Now, we're gonna add the other ingredients. Now we have butter that has been softened. This is a lot of butter. Tell them how much, Grace.
This is 12 ounces of butter, which is
about 3/4 of a cup. It looks like a lot more than that, but if we melted it down, you wouldn't see it. Grace is gonna add that in, and I'm gonna add the other ingredients. Oh, I forgot cinnamon. Let me go ahead and put that in real quick. I'm gonna use a teaspoon of cinnamon. We didn't measure that ahead of time. Cinnamon just brings out the wonderful flavors of chocolate.
Oh, that could have been bad.
So it's perfect. Yeah, the dogs will get it. We have 2 dogs that sweep the floor when we mess up on something. And in addition to the ground cinnamon, a recipe that I really like calls for is molasses. Now, molasses are a sugar, and a lot of folks simply don't use it. If you don't use it, this is fine to leave out. You might need another form of sweetener. It gives it that dark, wonderful flavor once you bake it. It's a really rich flavor. I'm going to put 1 teaspoon for this entire recipe. And again, if you don't want to use it, you don't have to, but it gives it a really, almost a rich brown sugar flavor. I need to clean that before I put the lid on it. Just put it by the sink. Okay. And pretty much those are our ingredients except for some vanilla extract. And the butter is softened, but not as soft.
Yeah.
We'll also be adding 2 eggs. Do it.
It gets really hard to mix together. The last time I made cookies like this, and I used the butter wasn't quite as soft as it needed to be, and I had to just get my hands in there and just make a
Does that sound familiar? That's my daughter, because I do the same thing, getting my hands on it. Okay, so we're going to mix it a little bit, and then we'll add 2 eggs to the mixture. And it smells yummy already.
It does smell really good.
Grace, if you want to work on putting that, I will add the eggs, and we'll talk about chocolate.
All right.
You work on that, and I'll add the eggs. This is just 2 eggs. That should help you mix it a little.
Yeah, it gives it a little bit of liquidy
moisture. Yeah. And, you know, we really try to kind of mask the coconut flavor in some of this, to be honest, with the ingredients that we're using. Because Dad doesn't like coconut, which may not be a bad thing. We wouldn't have to share with him, right? Okay, so chocolate. Let's talk about chocolate. This is a sugar-free Hershey chocolate. It has maltitol and other sweeteners that we're not fond of. I do have it in the house, and I have used it. It's great for when you're in a hurry. It's a quick option. Another option is to use 85% or higher cacao chocolate. Now, Lindt is one of my favorites, and I usually keep 85% in the house, and I also keep 99% or 90%. Anything higher than 85% is fair game. It makes 1 square, can make a nice treat, and it also, we can chop it up and use it for baking. A lot of people who don't eat low carb find this really strong. So when I'm making something that we're having people over or that other folks will be eating, I don't use it as often as I normally would. What I will use is either this or one of my favorite chocolate bars. Now, Lily's makes a great chocolate. I don't have any because somebody in the house likes to eat Lily's chocolate. So I didn't have any Lily's today. What I do have is Coco Polo, and Coco Polo is really my personal favorite. It's sweetened with stevia, and it's just fantastic. This is 70% dark, and this is a milk chocolate. And so basically I'll just chop it up and put it in there. These bars are 3 ounces, and I'm going to need at least 5 or 6 ounces for this much dough. So what do you want to use, Grace? Do you want to use the Coco Polo or the Hershey's or the Lindt?
I think we should use like a little bit of a mixture.
Okay,
Like
do a mixture.
the Coco Polo, and the Lindt.
Okay, so we need to chop this up, and I'll have to grab a knife to do that. Grab a knife. And I should have opened this better. Someone has been in this one, as you can see. So there's not quite 3 ounces. Thank you, Minion. There's not quite 3 ounces. And when I chop it up, I just rough chop it. I have put it in the Ninja before. It didn't quite get the results I wanted. It was more shredded, and I do want this to be more chocolate chip chunks.
And as you guys can see, this is very thick, and my arm is getting tired.
I may have to call in another Minion. Jonathan, you want to come give it a stir? Jonathan can get his muscles in there and give that a stir. Jonathan's birthday is today, and he's the one who wants the chocolate chip cookie. And I actually think, Grace, can you grab some pecans from the freezer? I actually think I'm going to make one of the skillets with pecans and one without. Are you done, Jonathan? We got to stir the chocolate in. That's perfect. I just want to chop those up a little bit. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so keep stirring.
Can I use my hand?
Not yet. Okay. And this may take a while to get all this chopped. And again, I just want them roughly chopped. And is it getting hard to stir?
Yes.
So I'm going to mix milk chocolate and dark chocolate. That needs chopping up. I need my own cooking show so that I have like a whole crew who can chop pecans and chop chocolate and change wardrobe for me. What do you think, Jonathan? You're doing your eyebrows. This definitely is a family affair, and I love having my daughter cook with me in the kitchen, and my son dance with us in the kitchen. And I really love when they get to share in the goodies. See what that looks like, Grace.
And then the other night, she basically handed me the iPad and with a few recipes on it, and she's like, "Hey Grace, you want to make some of these?"
I absolutely did. I said, Grace, I'm craving a sweet, and make something and surprise me. And so from start to finish, she made her own batch of cookies. And what was interesting about it was I think she learned a lot from making that.
Yeah.
It had a lot of butter in it. And did it have coconut oil?
No.
And they were soft out of the oven, but then we put them in the fridge, and the next morning, they were crisp, and it was the butter getting hard. And we put them out to soften, they actually got soft again. And so that's one of the reasons we kind of adapted this recipe. We didn't double the butter. Do you think it's going to need more oil, Grace, or you think it's okay?
I think it'll be okay, but I'm not the chef over here. I'm the kind of the sous chef. I don't know.
Okay. So this is dark chocolate, and we're going to mix it with some milk. And honestly, I don't think it's going to need a ton more.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Well, I think what we need to do, stop just a second. I think what we need to do at this point is taste it. That's really good.
I'll just take a look.
That's really good.
That is really good. That's really rich.
It is very rich.
And this is our first time using this recipe. We just kind of made it up right before this, after looking at a bunch of different ones.
We did. We looked at a bunch of recipes we'd actually used before and decided on this. So let me get that chocolate, the milk chocolate, and we can put that back. I think that's going to be enough. And then, Grace, let's put, once you get that mixed in, let's fill this skillet. One of the wonderful things about using the cast iron skillet is it gets all crispy all over it. So put that in, and try not to use it all. And then we'll use, I'll put some pecans, and we'll use the smaller skillet. If we don't have enough for the smaller skillet, do you want me to do that? Let me give it a stir into it.
Yes, it's like getting oily.
Okay. Grace has done a fantastic job with this. I'm going to step in, and I think the spatula she was using probably isn't as strong as the other. So I love that we added the cinnamon. I think that gives it a really nice taste. And no one would really guess there was cinnamon in it. So this looks fantastic. You've done a great job, Grace. Okay.
Your hands get tired, definitely.
Your arms get a nice workout, don't they? And we just want to smush it out. Always remember to smush properly, right? And we may not have enough to do 2 pans. We may just have enough for 1. We'll see.
Might run.
Let's see. Oh, we can try it. And remember that how you kind of smooth it in the pan is how it's going to be. This isn't going to rise and move a lot. So you want to put it in the pan pretty because it's going to come out kind of the way you did it. Oh, there's a little bit of a ditch right there. We're going to put this in the oven at 350.
How long?
We're going to check it after about 15 minutes. This one we're going to add the pecans to. Pecans are fairly low carb. And we didn't chop these ahead of time because Mom wasn't thinking about it. But we're going to bake it for, like I said, at 350, 325, 350. With almond flour, you don't want to go too high of a heat. It will burn on you. And I can tell you from tasting this dough that I really think it's going to be
Delicious.
a good cookie.
Yeah.
Wow. And it is very sweet.
Yes, it is very sweet. So.
Okay. You might want to reduce the
Sweetener.
sweetener a little bit, yeah.
We may have put too much.
We may.
Right, sucralose, straight sucralose.
Yeah. But that's how we learn, right?
Yeah, that's what happens whenever you're making it up.
We'll just have to make a batch of sugar-free ice cream to put on top.
And literally, we were just going through recipes, and
So-
I wrote it all down. And
Grace wrote it down, and we can put it on the blog with pictures. So let's stop the video now, and then we'll see you when we take it out of the oven. Okay, so our skillet cookie is ready, and they look and smell amazing. And so we were kind of anxious about, did they rise? This is the top one, Oh, wow, it's soft. Doesn't that look great? Okay, Grace. Now be careful because it's hot. Yeah, you could use that too. It's really soft. We have not let this set up out of the oven at all. This is the one without
Pecans.
pecans, that's right. Oh, wow.
Want
And there's some, do
that.
you want to try it? My husband is volunteering to give it a try. This is the one with the pecans.
It's set up
Is
a
it
little
good?
bit better.
We're getting a thumbs up, Grace. This, I think if it cools, ooh, it'll set up even better.
That one.
And the only difference is the pecans. Ooh, and we don't have a fork. Wow, it's gooey and wonderful. Doesn't that look great? Okay,
Smells wonderful.
we're getting a fork. All right, what do you want to try?
I'll just try the regular kind. This is it, right?
Yeah, this is a pecan. I'll try the pecan,
I can't pick it up. Okay.
and we'll see. What do you think? How we do? It's soft
It's
and
perfect.
it's kind of crumbly.
It is, but
I'm anxious to see what it's like when it sits and cools.
that's so good.
It is really good. It's very sweet.
Yes, it's very sweet. It's really rich too. Like it's not too rich where if you eat too much of it, you'll feel bad. But it's like it's perfect.
I think that I probably would not put the molasses in next time. What do you think? Because it's already really rich.
Yeah.
I can't taste the coconut at all. Can you taste the coconut? My husband says he can, but it's just because he knows it's in there. As you can see, we don't like it at all.
It's horrible. Never try it.
We didn't calculate the carbs. The carbs would be from the almond flour, which is 1 cup, the chocolate, the molasses, the 1 teaspoon of molasses. Trying to think what else. It's pretty much about, the unsweetened coconut has carbs, but the oat fiber it's fiber, and so it really doesn't count toward
butter,
the carb
maybe?
count. Butter doesn't have carbs. No carbs in the butter. So it's pretty much the almond flour, the molasses, the unsweetened coconut. Eggs have a trace, the chocolate, the pecans, and that's about it. So it will be interesting to see how this sets up. And it's already setting up some out of the oven. You can see a little more how it's set up. This is delicious. If you have a cast iron skillet, try this at home. If you don't have a cast iron skillet, get a cast iron skillet. But you could also do this in a baking dish. And you probably could do it as a drop cookie too, I'm guessing. If you put the dough in the refrigerator first, you could do that. So hope that you make this for your family and that you enjoy it.